at 290. During the time of the webinar, we had already, although it was early in the day, produced an outside white candle on the daily, which is, like a bullish continuation in this case candlestick. And look at today's price action, 6.7% higher. Boom. Exactly at the 127% extension. And I think we still have way more to go. Okay. So bottom line, 290 is now the line in the sand. I think that bulls will keep defending that. I think next stop is roughly at 375, and I think there's more to go. So I do think that natural gas remains one of the interesting markets to trade. Now, crude, on the other hand, keeps losing ground. I'm keep monitoring this channel trend line support. I think there is a decent chance we're going to break through it and produce one more low. That would also bode well with the scenario we were just discussing with Stelios, which is what? Since we have a VIX breakout, we might see finally some profit taking in stocks. That should also be crude oil negative. That should also temporarily be precious metals negative, and that could lead to a rather short-lived move lower in stocks, lower in gold, lower in silver, lower in crude oil, before all of them probably resume their uptrends. So that's a decent probability scenario ahead of the elections. I had this discussion yesterday with the team. If you read, out of curiosity, I was reading like all bank analysis having to do with their, assumptions on analysis having to do with election outcomes. They can't even agree among themselves. You see one bank thinking that Trump getting re-elected is the most positive scenario. Another one thinking that a blue wave is the most risk-on scenario. Other bank thinking that best case scenario is Biden winning with Republicans maintaining the Senate. So many different opinions. You really, some will end up being right, some will end up being wrong. I'm not even sure it's not going to be out of coincidence. Simply because this market has stopped caring about fundamentals and, as Dale pointed out before, about what makes logical sense and what not. The DJ to the party is the Federal Reserve, and the willingness of governments for fiscal policies that, of course, necessitates the Federal Reserve and the rest of the central banks, monetizing all the bond issuance to make that happen. So, that's the only thing that makes sense watching, and no matter how sad it is what it is. Anyhow, so that more or less covers these. Now, copper, somebody else asked about copper. Copper has been breaking through this ascending channel. The scenario we talked about before would probably also coincide with the pullback in copper as well. So, all these, bind nicely together for a potential pullback in all these assets, which more or less have a, risk on, risk off type of correlation. Opinions are like, yeah, Ziggy, that's absolutely true, mate. Move later in crude is market anticipating Iran production coming back online. Do you think move later in crude is market anticipate? What I can tell you is that the market will find its reasons to pull back, but longer term, I'm bullish. I'm bullish crude oil and anything that has intrinsic value. So I do believe that crude oil is going to end up resuming its uptrend. There are a lot of people that are rushing to, to call the crude oil market as in essence, dead man walking type of market, because, that's it. We're phasing out crude oil, and crude oil is going to be worthless, and it's going to be replaced by, green energy and all that. It's too early. It's too early. Yes, there is definitely a long-term trend in that direction. But trust me, it's going to take too long for you to actually be able to benefit from that type of a thesis. That's a longer term thesis, and at some point it's going to be proven to be the case. But until that happens, I honestly believe that we can even see crude oil at triple digits once again, that more or less nobody thinks that can happen. I think it can. I actually think it can. WTI looks very heavy. Yeah, we already talked about that. Natural gas, we talked about that. Dale. Oh, we have questions about cryptocurrencies, by the way, which, it's a good opportunity to talk about them because, yes.
Yeah, I'm here. I had it muted.
Okay. I want you to give me earlier questions because I came in late. I had a meeting. So
Okay.
Bitcoin, we had already mentioned when we were breaking through this trend line resistance that is a very bullish development. Now, watch how we broke out from this symmetrical triangle, because once we broke out from this trend line, we then formed this symmetrical triangle. This more frequently than not is a signal that we're consolidating and we're going to resume in the direction of the prior trend, which was higher. That's exactly what happened. Now we're testing this key resistance area roughly at 13,500. Now, if we break above this, which, so far so good, I think there is more to come, and, rather quite a lot more to come. So I see nothing bearish here. And Ethereum, not as clean as Bitcoin, and definitely hasn't even retraced, a fraction of what Bitcoin has. But still, I mean, it looks okay. Back testing this 390 area, next upside target, it's a retest of 490 once again. So, yeah, I think they look good. Bitcoin looks better, though. I can tell you that much. So do we have any questions from earlier that I can't see?
Not really.
We do have questions about avoiding expiring
Platinum
contracts.
from
Hey Steve,
Amira.
can you trade? Yes, you can, Dimitri. If you have a provider that gives you CFD, yeah, you can. So a friend here is asking for USD Indian rupee. Listen, this is what I see here. Not a real trend so far, but this rebound from these lows looks very corrective to me. So bottom line, I tend to believe that USD INR is going to have a hard time going through 74 and a half. I think the path of least resistance remains to the downside. And having to do with the Nifty and the bank Nifty, since you're asking, here is the Nifty. What I see here is a triangle that makes it very likely that we're going to see another push higher. And having to do with bank Nifty, I don't want to keep repeating myself. I see no reason why somebody would want to be long banks anywhere. So as you see, I mean, compare bank Nifty with Nifty. See how much it's underperforming. I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I think you want to have long exposure to stocks. Bank stocks should be your last, very, very last option. That's what I think. I still see this as a bearish type of a long-term, consolidation rebound. I think it's going to fail before it gets to new highs, most likely than not. And that applies more or less to any bank indices you look at globally. It's the same deal. USD Turkish lira, by the way, it's doing its thing, and it's going to keep on doing its thing. I mean, it's unstoppable.
S&P's faded pretty good.
Let me see.
Right from the 3420 old support, new resistance. VIX.
Yeah, the VIX so far is, a short inside
open.
white candle.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing to see here so far. Nothing to see here so far.
Someone wants a Euro HUF. What's HUF?
The Hungarian
Hungarian.
Fiorint, right? Yeah,
Furnace. Okay, Jeffrey.
there it is. Looks like a very healthy uptrend. I can tell you that much. Looks like a very healthy uptrend, right? I mean, last time we had a look at it was probably somewhere here, judging from the chart. And yeah, it looks healthy. I mean, I do see a big divergence here in the RSI, but that on its own does, it's not a timed indicator. So, I mean, against, I would say 356 makes sense to expect more upside. As simple as that. We haven't had the daily close above 366, 367. I think that would be a very bullish development. So here it is. Right, this is resistance area, which we're testing at the moment. So from a risk reward perspective, you can be short here, because you're risking very little. And, if we get rejected, you can make a lot more. But in all honesty, it looks to me like, there's a very good chance that we're going to end up breaking higher and extending. Okay, so be careful. Yeah, that's what I think about it. So in essence, we remain in this like 342 to 366 area. Do we have Supreme Court pick further pushed women away and healthcare voters away? This is a big discussion that we don't have the time to have. I myself, I'm a libertarian. I wouldn't be voting for any of the two parties in the US. I can tell you that much if I was a US citizen, which I'm not. Personally, I do like the new Supreme Court justice that was elected. I do believe that politicians have abused the Constitution in amazing ways because they want to avoid actually amending it, going through the procedure of amendment. I have no arguments against amending a constitution. I have problems by doing it by having a constitutional court interpret, quote unquote, based on what you want, things that were clearly stated in plain English. I also believe that the whole thing with the Constitutional Court has become a charade, because if the Constitutional Court was actually doing its work right,
You mean
and
Supreme
properly,
Court?
Supreme Court. It's just the Greek terminology is Constitutional Court. So I'm using the translate. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, here it's called the Constitutional Court. Yeah. So yeah, the Supreme Court shows that things are not moving in the right direction, because if the Supreme Court was doing its work right, political affiliations should play no role whatsoever. Right? It shouldn't play a role if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because their job is to interpret the law that is written very clearly. But as I said, this is a big discussion, and it's a matter of perspective. So that's my perspective. So personally, I like the new judge, but that's my point of view, and it has nothing to do with political affiliations. As I said, I'm more of a libertarian. Okay, so right. Dale, who do we have?
Matt Thistle.
Okay. We've had Matt multiple times.
Yeah.
In the past. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I remember him. Okay.
Okay. Cool. Matt, I just made you a panelist. Looking forward to talking to you. It's been a while. Welcome back to Face, Matt.
Check. Hello? Am I on?
Hey, you have a check for me?
There we go. Check
All
one.
right. All right. I'll give you my bank wire number. Faster. All right. You want to share your screen, bro? And we can start wherever you want. I guess the feature today is action in cryptos. But you want to start with the election? Okay.
No, where are we here?
You're
Okay.
showing the election. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. So, hi everyone. And
Matt, this is Matt at DJ Thistle 01. Matt is a very insightful market guy and technical guy. So that's why I keep bringing him back. If I didn't think he had great content to offer,
awesome.
Be here. So yeah. Go ahead, bro.
Okay. So, all right. So I got like 40 tabs in 30 minutes. And as usual, we'll plow through this.
Okay.
Where did we go here? So I think back in here when I first made the chart, I was on your program, and then last time I was here, and basically, what I was seeing based on something I'm not going to ramble on about was my sort of investment thesis was we were going to experience this large 1987 style event, which I believe we have, boom, and rebound.
Right.
And so the question was, can Trump pull this off? Because, if so, and it comes back, he can get reelected. And if not, and it was back down in here, it's just not going to happen, right? So I think pre-coronavirus, up in here, that, it was definitely a Trump landslide. And if markets were down in here, that would definitely not do anything good for Trump. This is his sort of 50-50 range, and he's got it. And we will talk about that at the end. So things are moving as they should. Here was that chart again. Yeah. Natural gas is something that we've been following for quite a while. We had the pipeline explosion in Western Canada here, and then everything just walked itself down. I think I was probably on the show, 5 times as this all came down and touched bottom, and it has, just like the same fractal here, here, and over and here. So it seems like this part here and here is repeating.
So your last chart, the fact that we're, much closer to all-time highs than March lows, is that this bodes well for a Trump victory.
This is the best chance that he's got at this point. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. And so as we were talking about this sort of rise in the markets, we've also seen bottoming of natural gas. And as we'll get into it in a second here, this rise in gold. So is this because other things are getting stronger, or is it because we're seeing a weakening of the US dollar, which is when you look at natural gas, USD, numerator, denominator kind of thing.
Right.
So as of right now, this is a large possibility. We talked about this before, the bottom of this could end up getting as low as like 60 cents. And you had another fellow that you said was looking at like 58. Does this need to happen? Does it need to happen? But at this point, we're seeing weakness. We're seeing people, call for rallies and things like gold. And, there's going to be with just endless stimulus coming simultaneously everywhere. I think there's going to be a lack of currency wars. Usually when these things kind of heat up, it's this juggling of devaluing as things go, and it's a battle back and forth. But if everyone can go at once, who's to say that can't push people towards emerging markets and hit the US dollar a bit. Silver and gold, we've seen this nice move to all-time highs and pull back for gold. Silver has been following roughly the same kind of pattern, but delayed. And that's fairly normal historically, that silver sort of lags and then catches up. And often in crypto, people talk about gold and silver being
they're cousins.
Yeah, so gold and silver are as to Bitcoin and Litecoin, and in those same kind of relationships, Litecoin or altcoins tend to lag and then catch up later too. So the same kind of dynamics is in play, and I think even the same kind of walk up to near 50% and pull back under the channel, kind of walk up under 50%. there was this, little.
I had a
different-
guy on, pretty interesting, Matt, that did a comparison fractals with gold and Bitcoin. That looked
Oh yeah,
pretty-
for sure. Yeah,
and silver and Ethereum, not
yeah,
Litecoin.
it's all bang on, totally. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna see, silver should follow its way up, and again, if we do see any, devaluation on the USD side, that helps push up the the XAG side as well too. So something possible here is, as people, if this does continue to correct, is that this kind of peak, the drive above peak and down. So peak, drive above peak and down. So some consolidation here before, rolling off later would probably be best for silver if that whole situation can manifest. So, and if I were to take the bars and overlay it here, that's so people can see. Platinum is just in its own. I mean, there is the kind of a overhang of supply, so that's going to push down on the market. But usually, something like this is going to want to follow the rest of the precious metals, and we've seen palladium do amazing in the beginning of the year and the end of last year. So while you might not want to, like if you look at people like Livermore, who are great traders, they wanted to be, when the market is moving in the direction and the sector is moving in the direction, and then when the bellwether of that sector is moving in the direction, that's what you follow. And then with the laggards, when they're following in ratio, then you hop on them. But when they're lagging too far, his thing was always, it's doing that for a reason. So you don't want to chase something that's not moving. So I think this is the palladium gold ratio. I think when the ratio gets a little higher above resistance in conjunction with the US dollar side, palladium USD, getting a little bit of strength, I think then taking the strength in that market to try and get a ratio move upwards is more the view rather than trying to chase it. But I think that just this ratio continuing to drop off, but then gets like these huge waves here, a smaller wave here, and a tighter wave here. Seems like these waves are compressing, which would then be the shot upwards. So I think that's something worth looking out for. Get to some crypto here now. Bitcoin is this very simple kind of idea of horizontal resistance, and I believe, yes, so this was a screenshot from our last visit together, and I was just talking about that same kind of thing. We just had consolidation here, a little sideways, and it dropped off, and here consolidation, and we're just looking at a horizontal midpoint. Below is bearish, above is bullish, and that was also
That's at 10.4.
Yeah, just under 10. And then we were looking at the same kind of fractal here, sideways and up, and then it pulled back at the Fibonacci 2/3. Same thing as here. So I still think it's generally bullish for Bitcoin, which is bullish for crypto, though usually I think last time altcoins did kind of not do too great here, and then on this pullback of Bitcoin, might have been this one, but I think it was this one. I think right in here, altcoins started to gain traction, and then here they rose with Bitcoin for a while. So I think in here, it's possible that we could still see some pullback in some of the altcoin markets, and I'll show why shortly. So we discussed here from these screenshots from the last one what we were looking for, and we're kind of still getting that here. And this was the weekly. And if we just take this same line on the daily, you can see that it's kind of like the old highs, right? And then support was put in twice and has bounced off nicely. On our last program, I spent about 10 minutes talking about Ghost Month, and we'll recap that here. So the first day of Ghost Month was the 19th, where there was a pullback. Ghost Festival was the second, and again here, rejected. And then the 16th.
Bottomed on the equinox.
Yeah, and the 16th here, the end of Ghost Month, was the breakout above this resistance. And then here is Equinox, where it made a nice double bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is important because for the people that people do astrology in different markets, but I find that GAN and crypto, I've said before, is almost reversed in that, or upside down, in that GAN was really looking at the spring equinox for pivots in traditional markets. And in crypto, I really believe it's the autumn equinox that is the pivot. So when you have, and ghost month always precedes the autumn equinox. So when you have a dip into ghost month with a higher low into equinox, that's the most bullish setup for Bitcoin. And we're going to see that here. Equinox and down in a bear market. Equinox, down in a bear market. But when you have equinox and it can go keep sideways, or when it slightly breaks above, slightly breaks above, slightly breaks above, slightly breaks above, here, down, and straight down. And here, for once, we're seeing a little move above this equinox, autumn equinox consolidation. So
can you give a quick explanation of ghost month so our viewers don't think it's
right.
Halloween?
Yeah, so we're gonna get to that in 2 charts. Yeah. So
okay. I don't know. I'm not.
all good. All good. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have our traditional sort of like breakout here, and here's the old highs. So old tops make new bottoms is something I like to say in a bull market, and then this structural breakout here. So it did these breakouts. It found the resistance into ghost month. It found the sort of double bottoming into equinox above this support. So to me, again, that's as bullish as it gets. I made this last night. I think we've actually cracked some highs up here. So I'm thinking this is pretty much bang on. We had this rise, a little doji, a push up, and some consolidation, a rise, a little doji here, push up and consolidation, rise, a little doji here, and we're slightly pushing up. So that would be kind of like a 3 drives. And I think a lot of people are going to want to try and short into the upper 13s, lower 14s. And I'm wondering if it's going to be 3 drives, a bit of a pullback and a blow off into 16, so that everyone that tries to, be smart at the same time all gets hit. So ghost month, those lines. Yeah, I did a huge article for the last show, and people can check this out. So Coin Street News, and it's the ghost month and Bitcoin article. There's a whole bunch of charts, a clip from our interview, more charts. I walk it through year by year and all the stuff I've done.
Wow.
When it is.
You're prolific.
Yeah, thanks. And then all the results, and then a written description, and then visualized. And here's this year, and we've actually been able to consolidate and break above. So ghost month is call it superstitious time in Asian tradition. It actually started in India. So India and other countries, it's not just China and Southeast Asian countries. So we're talking 3 billion Asians are aware of this superstition, which is sort of has to do with the dead and whatnot. Yeah. And
every culture has like the Day of the Dead, don't they?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be a very inauspicious time to hold too much investments. So that's why we tend to see, I talked about in the interview, that in a bull market, you'll see, sideways or a little bit of weakness during ghost month, and then, a continuation. And in a bear market, it just goes all bad. Now, to show that, we have, so we actually did just show that with Bitcoin here, right? So the beginning, Ghost Festival, which is the midpoint, and then the end of Ghost Month. The lead up into Ghost Month and the beginning day into Ghost Festival is generally the most bearish, and then the backside of Ghost Festival into the end of the month is when people start kind of averaging in. So this part is considered very bad luck, and this part is considered, bettering luck. So let's see if that holds. See? So let's take a look at gold. Well, let's see. First day of Ghost Month, down. Midpoint at Ghost Festival, down. The end of Ghost Festival, down. So we'll zoom in on the 1 hour charts. Here's a little break, a break, a break. And as you can see, this is the beginning day of Ghost Month. It ran that stop, down. This is the midpoint at Ghost Festival, runs these stops and down. same thing, and down. Let's take a look at the Shanghai Composite. Got first day of Ghost Month, boom, down. We got Ghost Festival, boom, down. We're going to look at the S&P. We have a break above. This is the beginning of Ghost Month. It breaks above. It gets absolutely smashed on Ghost Festival, comes down and down again. And we have some consolidation here at Equinox, which is a positive thing. And that brings us back to here. So all these things I'm often talking about, you know, fractals, whether it's here, you know, the can Trump pull this off kind of thing. The pink line and everything in here is actually a fractal of this, which is actually a fractal of this. And people often say, oh, you know, they don't work, or, you know, it's just, you know, these things are hindsight. But yet so many of these fractals, I've been on the show, you know, walking these through for, you know, a year now. So I think my favorite fractal is this one we did on Ripple called Fractal of Doom, I called it. And the reason it was is because, you know, I was setting it up like this. What is this? This is 3 years ago, July 2017. And I'm saying, hey, this looks similar. It's done. Okay. I ended up, so wait a second here. So I'm saying it looks similar. Here's our boxes. It's going to walk, have a bounce, and then it's done. And what happened? We walked it down together. It bounced. It kept bouncing. And I'm saying we got like these double tops. I did a TradingView post on it. Same thing. Hey, if you've got eyes, this looks the same. And then for 3 years, I updated all this stuff as it went. And it has all gone bang on to date. This version of the fractal is bigger than this side here, but it's still all working. And really what this is just market algorithms. And the main market makers have not changed anything with their algos, and they're just walking it down. That's just the way it is. Okay, well, that's just one, you know, there's going to be no more like that. Well, that would be interesting if it were true, but it happens all the time. So we have a bear market from the Bitcoin. This is a altcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin pair. So up here we have the, I guess over here, we have the Bitcoin high of 2013, and it comes all the way down and all the way back up into we'll call it a halving pump. And then this is the top of the pump, and on the back side of the pump is where Litecoin mining rewards have. So we have a Bitcoin all-time high right over here. We have a bear market for Litecoin Bitcoin. We have a pump into halving. It dumps into halving, just like over here, slides across with a bump and slides over, slides across with a bump and slides over.
What about now? You know, we're getting a lot of history lessons here.
Yeah. So right now,
you have any future projections on any of these?
Yeah. So right now, it's either right in here or right in here. Now, this is important because whether it's here or here is sort of, I don't know, a moot point, because the point is it's sliding down on this last leg. And I believe the same thing is happening with XRP, where we've had this orange box, dip, rejection at the orange box, and then we're in this last push. Orange or yellow box, sorry, not orange, dip, rejection at the box, and sliding down. Now, both times, this was sort of when Bitcoin started its rise. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm talking about here, is that we should start seeing this rise. And that's back over to here. This was a screenshot, right, from our last time together, that I'm saying I'm thinking that it's just slowly rising up into the all-time highs here, which is, to me, confirmed by, you know, that was kind of happening here last time, and that's kind of where this is again. And with Litecoin, well, that was happening kind of here, and here we are again. What about Ethereum? You know, same kind of thing. So we have, you know, a sideways, a huge bubble, sideways, a huge bubble. It walks down, and as this horizontal comes up, hits it, rolls under, hits it again, and goes. This is a little lower, but hits on the bottom side of the slope, crosses over, hits resistance, which are these lows. As it crosses above, it comes back down for a dip, crosses above, and it's come back down for a dip. So this would be just I think this is just meant to chop people up before it goes up, which is exactly like what we're seeing here, right? As this was a slow grind, and this is a slow grind in here. I think that Ethereum is at the same point in the cycle, and it's doing the same thing. It's just trying to grind people out. If people want to look more about altcoins and alt trading, I did up a big article on what is alt season, which is a big thing in terms of cyclical aspects. Let's see if I can find, where is it? Where and when? That wasn't it, sorry.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, here it is. So here's a great, therealaltseason.com, and then click on the first one, and then how to trade altcoins and alt season is about 1,500 words on just long-term trends, simple breakouts, playing it sort of in a Livermore style. And then again, here's another example of how I believe altcoins are cyclical, and for the most part, you only want to trade them once a year. I don't think it's wise to be like, unless you're, margin trading or trading coins that are just moving. A lot of the time it's kind of like an IPO. When new coins are coming out on the market, you want to hit it when they're fresh. And if it's trending, keep going. But other than that, as you can see, quick up and takes forever down. Quick up and takes forever. So quick up and takes, it's like a lot of these coins, you'll see a 30-day market cycle up and a 200-day market cycle down. So alt season is generally around December 6th is when you start looking, and into
does that have anything to do with the end of tax loss selling?
I don't think so.
Does that happen in altcoins? Like,
well, that's what they try and say, but I don't think that, because Bitcoin is the thing where the majority of the market cap traditionally sat. So I think that these cycles have been around since before the altcoin market caps were high. So I just think it's a weird kind of GAN seasonal cycle kind of thing. Okay, and I was saying altcoins.
You're still
right.
following.
So it's the time to hit, and then alt season is December. And I believe that this dip into December, and that this last sliding here, this last bit of slide here in December would then confirm all those kind of ideas. So I think that the market is, structurally bullish as long as we stay above this kind of box here. So these lows that were put in here, they spent time, and then these highs. So structurally above 10.2 here is just great. And, there could be like coronavirus, kind of like when people panicked in here and it just snapped back. So there could be, a pullback into this range, a panic wick and go again. But generally speaking, this 10.2 to 9.8 is where things are going to sit.
You're still following cannabis issues?
The market itself is having so much problems, and now with coronavirus and regulations, and, you got people like Aurora, and companies like that just bought. And now the market hasn't really responded, and now they're so far underwater. So I think a lot of these companies are going to have a harder time bouncing than they should have in a proper market. Like we should have seen some better, balance.
You're not buying enough.
Yeah, and I think that the next...
It's a black market killed it, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, black market prices are half the price in Canada. So it's when they say things like, we talked about that before. The price is $7.50. Well, no, the legal price is 10 and the black market price is 5. So $7.50 is the price, but it's not really. So I think that people might want to be really looking at.
What's your highest conviction position going into the end of the year?
Oh, for me, it's always, it's definitely Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, And I just want to, what do we got here? 3-4 minutes, quickly talk about the election. So back in September, so I think generally speaking, back in here, when everything was fine and the economy was roaring, the economic numbers and the unemployment were so low, there's no way Trump couldn't lose. It was in the bag.
Right.
Coronavirus screwed it all up. Now, there's a lot of bad polling. And what I want to show people so that they can look at good data for themselves, because you can bet on elections.
Yeah.
We have.
You?
Yes, I have. And I'll discuss really quickly here what I've done.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about the 3 minutes. Just
okay. So,
go on.
So many of these polls that people are seeing, I think it's here. Look at this garbage. This was back, after the riots, but before Ruth Bader Ginsburg died or anything like that. You got Rasmussen, who was right last time, IBD, Emerson, who was pretty good last time, saying, hey, Trump's close. And you got these other people saying 9, 8, 12. For a while there it was 14, 16. That's just ridiculous. How can there be such discrepancy between people doing the same modeling? And then, so you look at these things, it's called party ID. You got to look at party ID in the polls. So party ID is really like, I think right now, based Gallup, and Gallup does like a monthly poll, and they've done it for like 15 years at least. And it's roughly like, I think it was the last one I remember was like 30 Dem, 29 Republican, 40 Independent. So you're looking at these things and you're like, well, if it's 30% Democrats and they're polling 39 and independents are supposed to be 40, but they're 34. And you look at these other ones, independents, 14%. Independents, 6%. What kind of crap is this? So like they're purposely making these horrible polls to fit the narrative they want. So then you go over to the actual betting sites and you got, what do you got here? Trump at 273 today, because people generally believe that it's Biden, plus 12. But then we go into these polls and we realize, oh my God, look at this. They're asking 10% more Democrats than Republicans. Or they're asking 10 or 15% more Democrats than Republicans. And then on top of it, 6% independents. It's just totally garbage. So if people want to be able to take advantage, of the betting sites and the states and things like this, they have to find the polls. They have to go into the polls. They have to scroll down. You got to find your question and you have to look at party ID. And then you re-weight the poll based on party ID. And then that way you can find out, is this poll actually accurate? And the same thing goes for the state polls. So here is a site I like to use for gambling on sports. You can gamble on, you can't parlay, but you can bet on the states. This is amazing, actually.
You action junkie.
Yeah, right. So I actually I took Pennsylvania when it was at about 325, 330 after the debate. I believe North Carolina and Florida will go Trump. Trump, as of yesterday.
After the energy comment in Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Correct. And after yesterday, Trump took his kind of phone bank man out of Ohio and sent him to Pennsylvania. Yeah. So what I think is happening right now is this is 270 to win. Anyone can go here. So hit map reset. I think Iowa is red. I think Ohio is definitely red. North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Let's flow in blue. Red. So where are we here? This right now is what I think the best option for Biden is, 270. I don't think Biden goes, or 290. I don't see how Biden goes past 290. I don't see landslides on either side. I think people betting on landslides are mental. Like both sides think that they have this in the bag. So they're both probably wrong. So this is about the best that I think Biden can get. Now, I think that the weakness for him remaining is Arizona, Pennsylvania. People are talking about stuff up here, but I don't really know. I think Pennsylvania is the easiest one to flip. And, generally speaking, as Ohio goes, the election goes. So if, let's say, Pennsylvania right now was blue, but now is gray as of this morning. So let's just say that taking that energy out of Ohio and putting it into Pennsylvania is real. They get that, they're within 2 votes. And if they can flip Pennsylvania and Ohio as the marker, that would lead me to believe that Arizona is going to flip red. So I really think that that's sort of the trifecta there is these are gray right now, Florida and North Carolina, but the polling numbers and the pre-data really makes me think that North Carolina and Florida can go red. I think Pennsylvania can flip red, and if so, it will take Arizona with it. And if not, and they can't take Pennsylvania, they probably won't take Arizona, which means that Biden ends with a high watermark of 290. And if Trump can win, I think he's winning it at, 279. I don't see landslide.
All right. So then doesn't that kind of, everyone's talking about Trump contesting. What if Trump wins a close election and Biden contests? I mean, I think if it's close, it's going to be contested.
I think this gets
up at the Supreme Court. What do you think?
Yes, I don't see how it can't be contested. I think North Carolina is allowing like 9 days after for ballots to be counted. I think Pennsylvania is doing something like, even if your ballot signature is illegible, it's still going to count. There is going to be so much contesting. Okay. I had done a map the other day where it was 269. So it's not, I don't see a landslide. I think it's going to be tight. And I think that's exactly why Trump did and had to get a Supreme Court justice on before, because the crap that's coming out of Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina in terms of ballot counting and mail-in ballots is the classic setup of, whoever loses is going to blame one of those states for election fraud, and it's going to be a nasty, and there's no way that this is decided on the 3rd, unless it's Biden 290 kind of thing.
Okay, and Bitcoin does well in that environment.
So, Bitcoin has been just risk on, risk off with the market itself. And I think that back here, that if we see some...
So when you think...
I don't know, at the end of the day, everyone is stimulating, and stimulus is pushing everything up. And if the markets stay risk on, Bitcoin's going to go with it, and it's going to go with it at a higher return ratio.
Okay, I'm looking for a 15% correction from the highs.
Of the recent? So, yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so appreciate it. Wow. It was almost a lecture rather than an interview. So I appreciate you coming in, Matt, and sharing your ideas. And Matt is bullish. Matt Thistle, bullish Bitcoin, buy the break. Would you? Do you think it's possible, if we have risk off, that Bitcoin could pull back to 9,000?
Yeah. So that basically comes back to this sort of. Yeah. This all here that where's the daily? Weekly. So that 10.2 right here.
Okay.
And then here at that base. So this sort of pocket in here is what bulls have to certainly defend for this huge, huge structural possibility for everything to just go up for a year.
Okay, well, in honor of Ghost Month, boo, Matt.
Boo!
And, I hope you have a great, hope your bets work out on the election, and appreciate you being here today, my trading warrior brother.
Awesome. Thank you for having me again. See you in a few months.
Okay, buddy.
Okay.
So that's a wrap for us on Turnaround Tuesday, everyone. Good hunting. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Adios.